Hello, everyone, and welcome to the QT2 Systems 2025 Ironman World Championship Men in Nice course preview and pre-race tips. All right, so about me first, my name is Reem Jishi, and I am a coach with QT2 Systems. I have been racing since 2000 and a QT2 coach athlete since 2018. I competed in the World Championships in 2024 in Nice, and I have been coaching with QT2 since 2018 and as a coach since 2010. So for today, this is the overview. I'm going to start with the QT2 Systems Five Cornerstones, then walk through your final weeks before racing, go into pre-race and check in logistics, then talk about the day before, race morning, go through a more detailed course preview, and just focus on race day pacing and fueling. Okay, so starting out with our five cornerstones: training, pacing, restoration, day-to-day nutrition, fueling, and mental fitness. And all five of these go in to make a good race day. Okay, so first, starting with the final weeks, training and pacing. So here we are under 3 weeks out from race day, and so it's taper time for everyone. At this point, the work is done. You're doing some final race specific sessions, or you're going easy. Try to simulate race conditions and intensities during training as much as possible. So Nice is a saltwater swim that you may not be able to find that, but at least try to do most of your swimming in the open water. Bike is lots of climbing, technical descending. So wherever you can find that, just try to get the feel for what it's like to be to do some climbing. It's not a good time to go out and do a bunch of flat roads. Try to find the hills. The run, on the other hand, is flat, and it's also repetitive. It's a 4-looped course, so it's kind of good to train the mind and do things, some things in loops. Temperatures in Nice: 60s to 70s. I'm going to say maybe upper 50s to lower 80s, but be prepared for anything. As I'll talk as we're going through, the weather changed a lot throughout the day on race day last year. And then and once you get to Nice, if you can train parts of the course or at least preview parts of the course, that's also helpful. At least do a final dress rehearsal, ride and run, test out your gear, and dial in your race day fueling, including how you're going to carry it, which comes into play depending on what you do with your nutrition. Okay, so more on your final week. So you want to train your race targets. If you've been training by heart rate, then that's what you're focusing on. So perceived exertion, pace, power, whatever is your intended race effort is what you want to be focusing on here. We're really at the point in these last week or two where there aren't any fitness gains. You want to just focus on frequency and feel. So you're still getting out there, but you're just doing a lot less. And it's not the time overtraining, going out and trying to squeeze in a last century ride a week before the race is not going to help you at all at this point. So err on the side of recovery, and it's more important to be rested than sharp. Leading up to an Ironman, there's so much training stress on your body, so you have to give it time to settle in and ease up, and make sure to include some days off. For nutrition restoration, so this is just your general, not while training time, fluid intake, stay on top of it, at least half your body weight in ounces, in addition to whatever you lose during workouts. So if you're a 150-pound male, you're taking in 75 ounces plus whatever you need for your workouts. Keep your meals nutrient dense, so everything that you put in should be good calories, lots of fruits and vegetables. The day before any final of your long efforts, keep them high in carbs, your meal the night before. Sleep, make it a priority as much as you can. Get the rest. And then anti-inflammatory measures. That's also, it's what you eat, but also staying hydrated, reducing stress, and getting in enough sleep. Then at this point, you want to start tapering down your caffeine, so targeting less than 800 milligrams per week, which means you can still drink a cup of coffee a day. You can take in your occasional gel, but you want to start tapering things down. And recovery drinks after all workouts. Okay, so now we're talking race week. At this point, you're probably going to be in Nice. You want to eat a relatively normal diet as much as you can. And Nice, there's lots of grocery stores everywhere, and there's more restaurants than I've ever seen in one place. So you certainly have opportunity to eat however you need to. So just be mindful of that. If it's hot, add extra salt into your meals, which you're gonna get by default if you're eating out anyway. Hydration is a focus. You've traveled now, you've flown in, that's going to lead to some dehydration. And you just want to, in general, just stay on top of your fluids, mostly with water, but sports drink is good to mix in just so you're getting your electrolytes as well. Keep tapering down your caffeine so that you're none on the day prior to the race. So that way, when you do take the caffeine race day, if you do it, it has more of an impact. Your carb load dinner is 2 nights before and breakfast on the day before, and continue to make sleep a priority. And just noting here that, of course, if you're traveling over, it's going to take some time to get adjusted to the time, but really try to do that. Get yourself up earlier. And if you need to take naps to balance things out, then go ahead. But getting the rest is important. And stay off your feet as much as possible. Nice is a great place. It's easy to get around by foot. But as you get closer to race day, just really try to get the legs up and rest. Okay, so going in, talking about fueling. So this is for your workouts, what you take in while you are training. So here you want to train with whatever products you're planning on using on race day. And here, hopefully, you know that the hydration on course is Precision Hydration 1000, which is a no-calorie drink, but has significant sodium in it. The gels and bars are Morton gels and bars. So if you are planning on using those on race day, you should be practicing with those now. I mean, make sure that you're dialing it in, make sure it works for you. If you are not planning to use those on race day, you need to be making sure that you're collecting everything you need to bring with you, and that you know how you're planning on carrying it, and you know how you're going to use your personal needs bag. So race day fueling may be the most important thing here. That's a limiter on performance, and you have complete control over it. So have a really good plan, know your intake. And also here, and as we walk through it, you'll see that the bike course is going to take longer than the average bike course. And so you may need to be thinking, if your average bike normally takes you 5 hours, it might take you 5.5 years. So you want to plan on bringing some extra with you so that you're plenty fueled during the ride. Okay, mental skills. So so much of it's in the mind, right? In this time going up, it's time for you to focus on your race. Reduce external pressures as best as you can. Focus on what you can control here. So your attitude, your fueling are two things you can control. Try not to get yourself worked up about how am I going to place, how am I going to do, it's focusing on what you can. Trust your preparation, your training. Everyone who's showing up to the starting line has put in countless hours training and being prepared. This is a really good time to work on your visualization, not only what a great race looks like, but also think about the things that might not go your way on race day. The water may be choppy. It may not be wetsuit legal when you hoped it would be. It could be windy. It could rain. It could be super hot. So how are you going to respond to those things if they come up? I mean, because we would all like it to be an absolutely perfect day and great water conditions and wetsuit legal and no wind on the course and temperatures in the 60s. That would all be great, but the likelihood of all of that happening is unlikely, and the likelihood of having the perfect race out there in terms of your execution is unlikely. So think through things about how, if something goes wrong, how are you going to respond to it, so that if it happens, you are prepared for it when it comes up. This is a good time to list your goals. Those are things that are 100% in your control. Like you're fueling. So here it's like you have your schedule about what you're going to take and when, so that you know that you can execute on that on race day. And then your targets, pace, power targets that you have out there. And now is just the time to really enjoy all the feeling of your extraordinary fitness training for an Ironman, and really just like letting us sink in that you are racing at the Ironman World Championships on a stunning and challenging course. Okay, so pre-race logistics, the athlete guide is up online. It's very comprehensive. Make sure you take a look at it. We'll talk about some of it today, but I am giving you this course preview based on my experience in Nice and based on my read of the athlete guide, but you should take your time and go through it. You'll also, once you get there, have the pre-race briefings where you can get more information. It's a good time. Make sure your bike has been tuned up. Make your list, everything you need to have with you. Purchase anything you need. Make sure you have the correct goggles. There's probably going to be potentially some sun glare. Bring a couple pairs with you. Make sure you're charging and replacing your batteries. Get yourself packed. Confirm all your reservations so that no surprises when you go to start traveling. And kind of think through your schedule about what you're going to do once you get there. More on pre-race logistics. So for this race, you need a French license, a temporary license. And so if you're not licensed in France or an affiliated country, then you need to purchase a competition pass. All of the information is up on the website. It's in the athlete guide with a link on what you need to do. So you have to get your competition pass. And then you need to put the information into the app that's provided. That has to be done by September 6th. You can't do it on when you go to check-in, so make sure that's done on time. And in years past, including last year, you need a medical certification. You no longer need that. So just the competition pass. Okay, so race week when you get there, it's a whole week. It's not just Sunday, which makes it really fun. So it starts out with a practice swim, which is on Wednesday morning. It's a 1.9K swim. So it's basically one of the rectangles of the course. Everything's out there. It's set up. This is open to anyone who wants to do it. But you need to pre-register. So all that info is up on the website to go ahead and pre-register for that. It's really a great opportunity to go in and test the water. It is very salty, which means it tastes salty and it's also really buoyant. So it feels difficult to swim in. The color is spectacular. It's a wonderful place to swim. And it just gives you a feel, the time is about the same as when you would start on race day. So you'll get a sense of what the sunlight is like, and that helps as well. They're offering 3 different insider tips that are, so the swim, the venue, and the bike and run course on the following day. And then you have the Parade of Nations, which is on Thursday at 3 p.m. And there's photo opportunities, I think, before that. And then the fun run, which is on Friday in the morning, it requires registration. It's a 5K. It is open to anyone who wants to do it, though. You just have to pre-register. Okay, so then after the fun run, there's the kids run. Also requires registration. Then you have the athlete briefings, which are held on Thursday and Friday. This year, it looks like the English athlete briefing is in the afternoon on Friday. Last year, it was after the welcome banquet, so it's kind of nice that they get it done earlier. Everything should be recorded and available for watching after, but it's good to go live just in case you have any questions. But it is offered in a number of different languages in addition to English. Then there's the welcome banquet, which is open for everyone. There's some presentations and a good meal on Friday. Then the last thing that's up is the Banquet of Champions, which is the day after the race. Okay, so getting around Nice. It is a walkable city. There's also a good tram system to go to. You'll need to use the tram to get to the welcome banquet. It's pretty easy though. Like there's just 3 different lines, and you can pay. There's machines as you go to enter, and you can pay there. Okay, so check-in logistics. You can check in anytime between Wednesday and Friday between 9 and 6. It's a pretty quick check-in process. It's right in the heart of downtown Nice, and you need to bring just the following items: your photo ID, your registration QR code, and then a copy of the day pass that you secured for your license. Okay, so when you check in, you will get a number of things. You have 2 race bibs. You only need to wear the race bib for the run. The extra one is a just in case and a nice frameable souvenir from the day. So just you only need one of them. You'll have the sticker sheet, which is all the stuff for your bike, and the gear bag stickers. You'll have your swim cap, the bike checkout ticket, which will be used if you want someone else to pick up your bike. The athlete wristband, which they'll put on you, like just like every other race, you're going to put it on right away, and you'll keep it in all the way through the end. And then you will have your gear bags, the gray morning clothes bag for your to drop off that morning with your streetwear. Then you have your blue bike gear bag and your red run gear bag. Those are both mesh reusable bags, which is kind of nice. Still using mine now. And then you have the personal needs bags, green for the bike and yellow for the run. You receive the chip when you go the next day or when you go on Saturday to drop off your bike and your gear. Okay, so a little more on the gear bags. Morning clothes, in there, you're going to put everything you want immediately post-race and what you're going to wear in the morning. So you're going to drop that off near the swim start, and then you can pick it up post-race by the athlete food. And that's open until 1:20 a.m. Your bike gear, so your helmet has to go in the bag. Your shoes can either be put in the bag or you can put them on your bike, clipped into your bike, and then anything else you might need on the bike as you leave. So your socks, sunglasses, any nutrition, sunscreen, layers, clothing, anything else that you might want for the bike. And you're going to drop this off at bike check-in between 12 and 6 on Saturday, and you will not have access to your bike gear and your run gear on race morning. So just make sure you put everything in there that you need and drop it off. So you will also not be able, sorry, this stuff you will be able to pick up after the race. Your bike personal needs bag. So Nice is different than some other races. They only want you to put food in there. So no extra clothes or anything else. It's just nutrition items. So extra gels, bars, whatever snack you want in there, bottles, anything like that, but just that's it. That's what it's limited to. You'll drop it off in the morning, and I'll go through a little more detail where that'll be dropped off. And the personal needs bags are not available post-race, so make sure you're only putting stuff in there that you don't worry about ever getting back. Run gear in here, your race belt with your number on it, your shoes, socks, sunscreen, nutrition, hat, visor, again, anything you want. And if you think that you're going to be out or possibly out after dark, then bring a headlamp with you as well, and maybe potentially something reflective, although it is pretty bright out there on the run course after dark. You're going to drop the run gear also off at bike check-in on Saturday. And so then your run personal needs, again, only food is accepted here. And bring a Sharpie with you because you want to make sure that you've well marked your bag. In addition to stickers, you want to be able to put to mark you with a Sharpie. Okay, so let's talk about check-in and where you're going to do this. So when you show up with your bike, you're going to enter and drop off your T1 bag first when you come in through to the racking. So you're going to drop off your T1 bag, then you're going to go find where your bike needs to be racked, hang it up, and then from there go ahead and drop off your T2 bag and exit. And there will be both at the time you check in your bike and also on race morning, there will be pumps available. There's also will be mechanics in this area. Okay, so final checks. And the day before or a couple of days before, you can go out for your final run, bike, and swim. It's great. There's a really long bike path that goes along the promenade and Gleis and a little further than that. So you can get out and get on your bike. You may have opportunities to actually get out on the course and try sections of it. If you would like, running is easy to do right by the water. And then as swim, you are able to get into the water. There's lifeguards that will still be out there. You're just restricted to being close to shore outside of the official swim. This is a note that when you're dropping off your bike and everything, just know your transition location and get a sense of what the flow is, because it's a little complicated. You'll be followed through it, but it's a really long and skinny transition. So it's really helpful to know where everything is and how long it's going to take, what the feel is to get there. Make sure you're doing your final charging of your electronics. And one thing too is that when you flew with your bike, you are going to be required to get rid of all your CO2 cartridges and everything. So make sure that you're stocked up on those. And this is something I would recommend doing as soon as you get into Nice, because everyone is trying to do what you're doing. And sometimes it's hard to be able to find the cartridges. So then go ahead and set out all your stuff. Just make sure that anything that isn't already packed up in your bags, that you have it ready to go on race morning, and of course, get everything checked in. Okay, so we're on to race morning. Breakfast right here, simple carbs, fluid electrolytes, small amount of protein. Keep it to the stuff you need and nothing that you don't. Stay away from the fiber. And so our recommended core diet breakfast is applesauce, banana, 1 scoop of whey protein, and sports drink. But do what you have been practicing and what works for you. You want to try to complete eating within 3 hours before race start. And then from there, just sip on your sports drink and take a gel right before you get started. Okay, so some race morning logistics. I'm going to show you a map on the next slide. There's a couple, you have to access transition through security gates, so be prepared for that. And then before you arrive, they are going to give you race tattoos. They tell you to put it on your upper arm, but if you're wearing a short sleeve tri-suit, you may need to put it lower down, which is what I had. So that picture is me, it's like on my lower arm. But remember to bring what you need. Make sure you have your timing chip, your swim cap, your goggles, your wetsuit, if applicable. And you can bring pumps in, but they're also available to you, so that's probably easier. And if for whatever reason you lose your chip or you forget to bring it, there are areas where you can get a new chip. Okay, so here is the map, and you are going to come in. Transition is open from 5:15 to 7:30. Security does not open until 5:15, so that's there's no reason to get there any sooner than that. There are transition security areas, and they're marked right here in the yellow where you can come in through security. And I believe that this year they've also added one on this side somewhere. But just this is something to scope out the day before when you're coming in to figure out where your security access is. And then once you come in, once you pass security, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to drop off your bike and run personal needs bags. And those are like right here. So you're going to drop those off, and then you'll keep walking. You'll enter into transition. At this point, you can go check on your bike. You can add your bottles. You can take your final note of your transition layout. And then that's it. Again, you can't get into your personal needs bags on race, or I'm sorry, you can't get into your bike or run gear stuff on race morning. So it's just a quick trip in transition. There's not a lot to do. You can get yourself out there. Once you exit from transition, then you can go. There's areas where the porta johns are, and then that's where you're going to be able to also drop off your morning clothes bag once you're ready, and get yourself lined up. So the first age group swim start is at 7:08, and we'll go through those details. So transition remains open after the swim start is going, because the last wave doesn't go off until just before 8 o'clock. Okay, so just a general race day course overview. Swim starts right at the beach. Transition is in the same place for both T1 and T2. The swim is a wave start. It's an in-water wave start. So there's no self-seating or anything like that. You're going to start with your age group waves. It's a clockwise W-shaped or double rectangle course. The bike, it's a single loop that has a small out and back section. It is mixed of flat and climbs and descents, and they all have their challenges that go with them, and then we'll walk through that. Roads are mostly in good condition, and I'm going to say but, and we're going to go over those but there, stuff that I didn't anticipate or appreciate before race day, that hopefully I can share with you something there. And then the run, it's 4 loops, it's flat, it's in the sun until it gets dark, and there are spectators everywhere. So it's a really fun run course. It's a great way to end the race. Okay, so swim start, this is just about your staging area. So you've come out of transition and then you're going to come down here and they're going to put you into the staging area. So they just go in order, they'll go up by cap, they'll announce it. And then as you come into the start, you're going to start in water behind these buoys and they'll get you set up there. So it's all set up in the corrals. It's all very well organized. And so here's the age group order, and the pros start at 7:05, and then the age group starts. First one's at 7:15, and they're varied in terms of how far apart they are. The one thing that will definitely happen as you go along is that the waves will overlap each other. I think that by the time I finished, I saw at least, I don't know, 8 different cap colors because of the timing of where the waves are and the different age groups that are in there. So expect at the beginning, it's going to be crowded because it's a wave. It's not a rolling start. We've gotten pretty used to rolling starts now, and this is a wave start. So it starts out crowded, but then it opens up, but then you've got waves passing each other. So there's always something that's going on in the swim course. So you are going to enter the water. It's a pebble beach. It's pretty rocky. You'll see that as you go in. And so that's probably why they do an in-water start. So that you're not worried about running through the rocks before the race in the pack. So salt water, very buoyant. Water temperature, it could go either way. Right now, I think it's sitting at about 77 degrees. Last year, it was not wetsuit legal a couple days before, and then things really cooled down and it was wetsuit legal on race morning. The year before, it was not wetsuit legal. So it will be on the bubble. Bring both with you. Don't assume one way or the other. And you just have to see right now the trends are that it's slowly cooling down. The temperatures aren't super hot, but it's not, if it were today, it would not be wetsuit legal. So be prepared for either. Okay, so the swim course. There can be some sun glare because you're heading out. You're going to be looking east at least some of the time on the course. There are buoys are on your right for the whole race, except for as you come back into shore after the first. You don't exit like you do in some races. In this case, you're going to stay in the water and then loop back around. And so the buoys are on the left for that very short period of time. It can be choppy, especially the further out you go. Last year, the practice swim was beautiful. It was really flat. On race day, there were swells. And so it could be, it could be either. Of course, the more people you add in the water, the choppier it gets as well. Like I mentioned, it's very salty. It tastes very salty. And there's a lot of buoyancy. So even without a wetsuit, you don't really have issues. You float pretty well there. As I said, expect crowds early and waves to be mixing with each other as the swim progresses. Okay, so just some strategies on swim pacing. You're going to want to start a little up tempo at the beginning, especially trying to get yourself settled out where you're going to be with the crowds, and then just settle in. If you're an anxious swimmer, though, you can hang out at the back of your wave, start out at the back, be conservative and build. You can find your open space here. You're probably going to get bumped at the beginning, and so it's okay. And as people pass, as if you're getting passed by the waves behind you, you might get hit, expect it. And it's all right. Just keep on going. You know what it's like. So use other swimmers as much as you can to your benefit. For the buoys and the course markers, you have to keep the turn buoys on your right. Otherwise, stay close to the buoys. They don't have to be on your right, but you don't want to be too far inside either. And then as you're getting ready to head out, you're going to kick for the last 100 to 2 yards. Just get your legs ready for the transition run. Okay, so as you come in transition, you'll be directed across the timing mat. And after that, you have wetsuit strippers if you'd like to use them. It helps to take off the top part of your suit, lie on the ground, then they'll do their job. You're going to run up the ramp. It's not a crazy long transition, but it's there. You're going to run, grab your bike transition bags, and then you are going to go into the changing tent with your bags. So as you exit the change tent, you're going to drop your bike transition bag in the designated area, and then go ahead and grab your bike. They'll have sunscreen in there if you would like it, and make sure to always clip on your helmet and have it on. Okay, so the bike course. I'm writing here it's a third flat, a third climbing, and a third descending, but there's actually more flat than climbing on this course, or at least rollers and flat, which makes it interesting. And the gear selection and the bike selection is part of that, question that we'll discuss here. So as an overview, it's one loop. It's mostly on good conditions, 8,000 feet of climbing. I think the course guide has it just under 8. My watch had me at just over 8 last year, but it's a significant amount of climbing. The bulk of that is front loaded. The bulk of the elevation gain is front loaded. It starts out flat though, 10K flat right at the beginning. And then you have a couple sets of climbs, and we'll break them down. The first one is shorter, but has the steeper pitches on it. And then you have a longer, steadier climb. And then you have a plateau where basically you're on the ridge line where you have 30 plus miles of rollers and wind. And then you've got a lot of technical descending coming in. So it's not a relaxing descent. It is a make sure you're focused descent at all times. The final 10, 14K here is flat at the end. So that's a good way to finish. And also just take note that there are 3 no pass zones. You want to make sure you're careful there. You don't want to risk a DQ over a no pass zone. And those are all in the athlete briefing, the athlete book. Okay, so first part of the course, flat to start, first 10K. You're going to exit transition and travel west-southwest just along the coast. And then right here at 7K, you go around this weird turn. So you're doing like a 270-degree turn and coming up. And it stays flat for a while, right at the beginning there. And then the first climb starts at about 10K. And here it doesn't look bad on the when you look at it, it seems like, oh, okay, that's not too bad of a climb. But just from going through it, the worst climbs in this race are early on. There's some very steep pitches in there, like between 10 and 15% at times. They are short. You got to kind of stand up and just power through them and get over them. It's also in a place at the beginning here that you're still in the city area, so the roads are a little crowded. They did repave one of the sections last year, which made it a lot nicer. But you just kind of have to get through those early ones and know that they're not long. You'll get over them, and the worst ones are always earlier in each of the climbs. So after you climb, so the climb is from like 10K to 33K, and then you've got a descent down after that. Okay. So next, after your next descent, and we're right here now in the elevation chart, you're going to climb is the climb through Gordon, and it is about 11 miles long. There you can see this little pitch over here where it's steep. It's got that one steep section, but for the most part, it is a doable climb. It just goes on for a long time. I mean, 11 miles, 920 meters of vertical gain that time, so about 3,000 feet of vertical gain. It is a long climb. It keeps on going, but it is not a killer. You just need to be properly geared so that you can find your rhythm and keep going in and settling in and stand up and shake it out when you need to. Make sure you're taking in your fuel, your hydration, so that you can just keep yourself going through this. Okay, so once you finish the climb, you are a 60K in or so, and now you are on the ridge line. And when you look at this profile, it really doesn't look like much of anything. This section of the course I found to be surprisingly challenging. I thought I was going to get up here and it was going to like feel good, but it can be sunny. There's not much cover up here. Last year, it was not. It was actually cold and we had some rain up at the top. It can be windy. It was very windy up at the top last year. Um, you have an out and back section over here, and it is actually, and it doesn't really reflect that well on here, is that it is downhill going out and then you U-turn and you're coming back and you're like, oh, I had no idea. So last year we were U-turning into the wind coming back. And so this, like this uphill, this section here was one of the most difficult parts of the course, in my opinion. It is a good place to be aero though. It is a long section over here that you can really stay and get some good time if you are get yourself into a nice aero position. And then the fun part starts, you start descending. So we are right up here at right there. Is about right here. So you've got your descent going down. It's 11K starting from here, but most of the descent starts about there. That's 7K. It is technical. And this is the first time you're really going to be descending all day. And so it's going to feel kind of strange because all of a sudden you're going down and you're going fast. And these roads up high in the mountains, they are narrow. They are possibly you're going to see some cars out here because all the roads are supposed to, public roads are closed to traffic. These are villages, they have nowhere else to go, so you do see some cars on the road. This is one of the X factors I'm going to hit later, so I won't talk about it too much here, but there are technical sections, there's steep, it's technical, there are steep sections, there's hairpin turns, so you have to be like super on alert. Okay, and then after, and this is this hill is really not that bad, but because of where it comes on the course, it's like, oh, geez, again, you've got a 10K climb, 350 meters, so that's 1,000 feet of elevation gain that you're going to hit this far into the course after your legs have just been like hanging out, not doing much of anything. So that comes out and it's kind of a little cruel little punch over there. That wouldn't be that bad if it were somewhere different on the course. And then it's all downhill for the next section over here. So it's a 32-kilometer descent from here back down again as you work your way down into the mountain, get yourself down. And it starts out narrower, it widens as it goes. There are some tight turns out there. You're going through villages, heads up all the time, because at this point you have been on the bike for longer than you want to be. And you really, really need to stay focused through this area to be safe. Okay, and then once you get down, final 10K for final 16K or so are flat. So it starts out right from Lingastera from here to the end is pretty much flat. This is all now you're getting back in the city, so you're feeling the city, and then you'll get back on the Promenade de la Plage and the Promenade des Anglais, and you'll come in here flat for the final. So you'll be tracking at this point. You might be seeing, well, you probably will be seeing runners on the course. The pros will be out there, people that are ahead of you. Perhaps you'll see them, and so there's an overlap a little bit between the bike and the run course over here. So these are just some shots from the bike. It's absolutely a beautiful course. Okay, so talking about fueling a little, here's what's on course. The Precision 1000 electrolyte drink. It is a 0-calorie drink. The good news is there are no artificial sweeteners in it, like Mortal. So you don't worry about the upsetting your stomach piece, but there are no calories. It is reasonably high in sodium, though, 1,000 milligrams of sodium per liter. In addition to that, you've got water, cola, bananas, oranges, and then you have the Morton gels. You have the regular one, and then which is black, and the caffeinated one, which is white. Just some notes on the Morton gel. Carbohydrate content is fine at 25 grams. 25 milligrams of sodium, though, they're very low, but if you're drinking the Precision, it's fine. It's a balance between them. There's also no potassium in the gels. And then the sodium level at 1,000 is at 100 milligrams is quite high, though. So if you're not used to that, you normally take in a caffeine every other gel, here you might want to do it like every fourth or so, because it has 3 to 4 times the amount of caffeine as most gels do. And then they also have the Martin solids on the course, which are chewable bars. They are higher in carbohydrates. They come in a package of like 2 smaller bars. So each one has 20 grams of carbohydrates and 12 milligrams of sodium. And there is some potassium also in these bars. So that's the balance of what's on there. But are you going to use it or not? And hopefully by now you know the answer to that. There are 8 aid stations on the course, plus your personal needs pickup. The personal needs pickup is at the 50-mile mark, but as you see, it's so although it's less than halfway because of the nature of this course, you are going to be out in the course. You probably are, at least halfway in terms of your time by the time you get to it. You have all the aid stations with the exception of the one at mile 50.8. So with the exception of the one right after the personal needs pickup, that one only has the precision hydration water, and the rest of them have all the rest of the food and everything on them. So the personal needs pickup, you'll be directed when you come in there. It's in a big parking lot. It'll be set up with your race numbers, and you just grab your bag, do whatever you need to with it, and then drop it off and head out. So the aid stations are all set up so that they're on climbs, they're in good positions, and they also, most of them have mechanics there. They have the porta-johns and medical or anything if you need it. So if you have decided that you're going to carry your own nutrition, and I decided last year that I was carrying my own hydration with me because I carried my hydration and all my fueling. So I had a lot of bottles with me. And that meant, though, making sure that I had enough bottles on the bike to get me where I needed to go to get to. I think I carried 5 bottles with me, which is a lot to carry in the mountains. But that was enough to get me to my personal needs bag, and carried everything so that I was able to pretty much just swap out what I had and what I was going to need there. So just think about it in advance, add whatever cages you feel like you need to. But the one thing you definitely do not want to do, well, 2 things you don't want to do. One is skimp on what you're taking in, and 2 is try something that you're not used to before. So hopefully you've figured it out by now. If not, you've got a little while to do it. Okay, so in terms of equipment, tri bike or road bike. So I'm a roadie. I raced pro biking for years before I did triathlon. I was absolutely sure I was going to ride my road bike. It didn't even I really didn't think about it a lot. I was like, I climb, I descend, I do all that way better on the road bike. And so that's what I did. I used my road bike, and I also didn't put aero bars on there. I will tell you that not having aero bars was a big mistake. Because there's a lot of flat section. You have the first 10K, the middle 50K, and the final 14K that are flat. That's over 40% of the course that's flat or rollers that you have no problem whatsoever being in your arrows. So I was really tired by the time I hit the run because my upper body was just working so much harder because of that. Whether or not you do a road bike with aero bars or use a tri bike, I think that is your call. But the steepest pitches come early in the climbs, and they are hard no matter what bike you're on, but they are also short no matter what bike you're on. So I think that the key is what bike you feel comfortable being able to ride, find a good rhythm at that 6 to 8% constant grade, and have the right gearing for it. So this is a personal call. People will argue it either ways, but the aero bars, I think, are something I would recommend really no matter what. If I did it again, I would absolutely use the aero bars. I would very likely use my tri bike to do it again. In terms of gearing, I used compact gearings for 34 in front, and I used a 28 in the back, and that was okay. That was enough for me. You could, depending on how you ride and what kind of cadence you like to to run, you might want to go to a 32 or even more in the back. But basically, when you think about your gearing, focus on what you would want to ride for the extended, 10+ mile climb at 6 to 8% grade. And that's where you should focus on, because like I said, those steep pitches are steep and they're going to stink no matter what. So just get up and over them. In terms of wheel choice, I don't know that I saw discs last year because there is a lot of wind, there's a lot of turning, but you ride with what you're comfortable using. But disc brakes are definitely a plus there as well, because people said, oh, it never rains in the mountains. Well, it rained last year, and so having the disc brakes is a nice thing. And also just with all the switchbacks, you need your brakes to make sure that they're working okay. Okay, so race day pacing. So first 10K is flat, so you can use that to find your rhythm. But it's also really exciting because you're in the part of the course that the spectators are out and cheering. But try to just keep yourself settled down, give yourself a governor, because as soon as you are done with that flat and you turn, you start heading up, the steepest pitches come right away. So you don't want to have your heart rate already jacked going into that. So your heart rate is going to go up on the climbs, but be cautious. Just try to keep it still controlled. Along the ridge line, the wind can have an impact if you're riding in. I said the out and back section where it's a slight uphill into a headwind last year that was a really draining experience because there's nobody out on the bike course, so you can't field with the energy, and it's pretty, but you don't have the views the same way you do when you're climbing, and it's that part's more challenging. So just know that. And then as you're heading back into Nice, so long as you're not overly stressed, your heart rate should start dropping down on some of the descents, because some you can pedal through, some you can't. So power, you want to try to be like more even, I guess, but it's really tough on this course. Just use as many gears as you can, and just try not to kill yourself too hard on the climbs, and paddle on the descents as much as you're able to. But your pace is going to be all over the place. It's going to be impacted by the climbing and the wind, and potentially heat or rain or cold, or you don't know what you're really going to get. But perceived exertion should be in the range of 5 to 7 based on your fitness level and your training. And then try to stay attentive but relaxed on the descents, but expect a slower bike split. I think I was off versus Lake Placid. I was off by about 30 minutes on Nice bike split. Okay, so some of the X factors, the things I didn't take enough account of. Wind. So we got really fortunate on race day that the wind followed us everywhere we went. It kept changing as the day went, and it was pretty much a headwind at all times on the bike. So that was a little frustrating. The descents are technical. You've heard me say this a bunch. You probably know this about the course. I mean, you're in the Alps. It's going to happen. You have hairpin turns. One thing that is interesting is that people descend at all different speeds. We had people, I passed people that had they were on the brakes the entire time. They were going so slow around the descents because they were panicking. And then we had some of the younger women started behind me, and they were just flying like mad people through the descents. And so you see everything out there. People who train in Europe with switchbacks are going to just be more comfortable riding like that versus in the US, you just don't see a lot of that. We've got plenty of descending, but just not at that same kind of technical level. The pavement, when I say it's rough, it's not because it's in bad shape. It's just that you've got mountain roads, so everything's just a little bumpier, like chip seal, that you're riding on it. And so it puts a lot more pressure on your body. And that was another reason why not having the aero bars, I think, was difficult, because it was more work. It was more vibration through my hands when I was riding on the drops, like on the downhills and throughout. There's also, every time you go into towns, there's speed bumps. So you're flying through and all of a sudden you have to stop, or you're climbing and then you have to go over a speed bump and you lose some momentum. There's roundabouts. And, oh, misspelled word, vehicle traffic. The course is supposed to be closed, but there were cars on the course. So you can't go around and assume that you're not going to see a car, especially as you come through some of the villages. They try not to have them there, but there are cars that are out there. There's cars in the direction you're in. There's cars that were coming opposite of you. So be mindful of that. There's not a ton, but there are enough that you can't assume that you're going to be out on the course on your own. Okay, so penalties, I'm not going to go through these a lot. Make sure you review your penalties. There are some new rules this year. So take a look at them. If you do get a penalty, you need to serve out the penalty in the penalty box. So make sure that you go to the box for that. And so just coming in, once you finish the bike, you're going to self-rack your bike in transition, grab your run gear bag, head to the changing tent, and off you go on the run. The personal needs bags will be available as soon as you get out transition within the first quarter mile, so they'll be there, and you do have access to those at every loop, which is nice. Okay, so run course overview. It is a 4-loop out and back course along the Promenade des Anglais. The turnaround is near the airport. It is flat. Total elevation gain over the marathon is 107 feet. And really the biggest hill is the finish line ramp. It's the only one I ever remember feeling as the day went on. It is very spectator friendly, and depending on when you are out on the course, it can be really crowded. So if you are starting, if you're in the middle of, middle on the swim and you're out there, you can, like, the first lap can be, I mean, it was packed when I first got out there, and packed with athletes, packed with spectators as the night goes on. And I unfortunately had a medical issue during my run, which caused me to have to walk more than I ever had hoped to. But as the day went on, it got a lot quieter and darker. But there were always people out and people cheering on, and that was great. But there are definitely some very loud spectators, which is good if that's what you like to keep going. Okay, so this is just some views from the run course. It's great. It's lined. You can't possibly get lost. It's very easy out there. And it's a very high energy, absolutely spectacular course. There's 8 stations about every mile. Same kind of stuff as you see on the bike course. With the addition here is that you do have carbonated water, and the water they have on the course is also, it's an electrolyte water, so there's sodium and potassium in it. So that's maybe an alternative to the Precision if you're getting sick of it by then. And then there's some salty crackers, different fruit out there. So, and as I mentioned, the personal needs bag, you can grab it on every loop if you need to. So that is available to you for whatever you want to put in there. And then, so the run, expect that your heart rate should be a bit higher on the run than on the bike. Power and pace, it's a flat course, so generally evenly paced. Just be careful not to go out too hard with the excitement, which is you're off the bike finally. It's a long time on the bike. You get out on the run and there's people everywhere and it's so exciting. And, just give yourself a governor early on. Keep things contained. Make sure there's plenty of aid stations. Take it in, take whatever you need to along the way. There is no shade on this course until it gets dark. So just make sure you keep taking in what you need to stay hydrated. And just as a note, like with every Ironman race, there are prohibited run shoes. It's a stack height of anything more than 40 millimeters. Ironman has published their list of known prohibited running shoes as of earlier in this year. So this is the list. I'm not sure how much they check it or not, but I don't think I would take my chances. So, but just look into that. If you're concerned about your shoe, then try to do some more research on it. Just some notes on mental fitness. So it's an Ironman. No matter what, you're out there for a long day. Parts of your day are going to be awesome, and you're going to be having mental fits with yourself. We talked earlier about coping visualization, knowing how to handle things when you hit those dark moments or stuff goes wrong, and work your way through it, because for every dark moment, there will be a light and you'll find new energy from the people around you, from whatever mantras you have and you're telling yourself. but stay on top of it. Your attitude, if it happens to be windy that day, it's like, it's okay. You deal with wind, you're fine. You can control the attitude. Stay with your fueling. And again, appreciate that you might be on the course longer than you would for another race because of the nature of the bike course. And also the swim, with it being an ocean swim, it can potentially be longer. Manage your effort. Keep yourself within your controls. Don't get too carried away with the, oh, I feel great, until it's that final 10K of the run. Then whatever, if you feel great, push it and go nuts on that final loop. But be who you are, race your race, not anyone else's around you. Show appreciation. There are so many volunteers and supporters on this course. It's just great. And one thing I found super interesting in Nice, unlike Kona or most races that you have world championships, places for world championships, is that there's so much going on in Nice. Nice has such a large tourist population that it doesn't shut down the city other than sections of it on race day. And there's people in there that don't even know that this is going on, which seems a little crazy because there's so much, but then they discover that there's a race going on, a big world championship, and they come down and they cheer as well. And when I was wearing my finisher shirt in the airport coming back, so many people came up to me and just congratulated me for being there and asked a ton of questions. And it is a world championship race. It is an amazing opportunity. So just take it all in and really appreciate where you are. And I got the last year, the new Ironman CEO was there, and he was at the finish line. So I was fortunate enough to get my picture with him at the end of a very emotional day for me. So just a quick note on time cutoffs. Last year, quite a few women did not make the time cutoff on the bike. So just be aware of what they are. 2 hours and 20 minutes you have for the swim. And then you have a total of 10 hours and 50 minutes between the swim and the bike. So swim, T1, and the bike. And there are some intermediate bike cutoffs. They are listed here. If you don't make them, you get pulled and you're in the SAG, because they do want to open traffic back up again. On the run, you have a total of 17 hours to complete the whole race. There is one intermediate cutoff, and that's going into the 4th lap. So just take note, these are all in the athlete guide. Take note if these are a potential concern to you, just make sure you know what they are. Spectators, so the Ironman app is going. There's lots of timing chips all throughout. Can't see much on the bike, like really, unless you live in one of the towns or something, you're not going to see much on the bike. You can't really get on the course very well. So for anyone that's out there spectating with you, the swim is great. If you're so inclined, there is VIP access, which gets you very close to the water and gets you right at the finish line. Otherwise, there's lots of open spectator areas anywhere along the run course. There's no problem getting yourself lined up, and it's really nice. But have your family or your friends tell you where they're going to be, so you're looking out for them. And after you're done, you'll get your medal. You go through, you get your finisher shirt, post-race meal, and then just go ahead and grab your gear. To get your bike and everything, you either need to do it yourself, your wristband, or you have to, the person who's going to pick it up has to have your ticket for you, just like any other race. And then post-race, there's the Banquet of Champions the following day. And then if you haven't done so already, go out and explore. My gosh, Nice and the surrounding area are just wonderful. So many great places to eat and wander and just really explore, and be courteous and thankful. Some of just really friendly people in Nice and very welcoming. So, and that's it. If you have any questions, please reach out. This is my email. I am also going to post within this YouTube a link to one of our coaches last year, Coach Ann Basso. She did a more detailed bike course review with some more photos in there. So I'm going to go ahead and post that link as well, so that you can get some more details if you'd like them. And